Good afternoon. This is our week 7, and this week we are discussing how to import data from a database into Microsoft Excel. Because in our textbook, I believe authors, they suppose that students are familiar with databases. There is not too much in the book and in the PowerPoint. And if we follow the very few slides available in the PowerPoint presentation, the standard textbook PowerPoint presentation, we'll find just one general slide, then another one comparing database and spreadsheets, which we'll also do, and then starting directly with the activity, how to import data into Microsoft Excel. Well, because we need more knowledge about Microsoft Access and databases, I have prepared for you a special presentation, Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, and there are many slides here, but we'll meet the first several today when introducing Microsoft Access and databases. This PowerPoint is available in Content View Chapter 7. Content into D12, Content menu, then Chapter 7, and Microsoft Access PowerPoint. You can download it. This is the first thing that you will need. And of course, very soon, we'll use the Microsoft Access program itself. So, what is the goal of this presentation is to introduce Microsoft Access and help students to learn how to work with data tables. How to design, edit, modify, how to define a relationship between tables, and especially how to create, run, save queries. Very important special reports that we'll concentrate on after introducing Microsoft Access. First, a few more words about databases and database management systems. There is a special topic in different class, CS 301, meaning in a year, next year, or in a couple of years, you will listen much more about the theory behind database management systems, about different programs, about the future in database management systems, and so forth and so forth. Today, we'll just introduce that database management systems are special kind of software developed to manage huge number of data records and performing any kind of activity, starting from opening, adding database, creating data file, using special forms to enter data into the database, reports to generate, to prepare printouts for the data table, and of course, special kind of reports or answers of questions, in fact, the so-called queries. Immediately to mention something. When comparing Microsoft Access and Microsoft Excel, we are comparing, as a matter of fact, two different types of software. Spreadsheets and database management systems. Though Microsoft put a lot of effort And right now, there are a lot of database functions in Microsoft Excel, some of which you're familiar with from the textbook chapter 7 level 2. And at the same time, Microsoft Access provides a lot of options, mainly functions, to use in database management systems, in queries, when developing queries. One can immediately recognize and understand that the power of Microsoft Excel and spreadsheets is in analysis, to analyze data, present them, organize them in tables in a way that is suitable for calculations, and apply many hundreds of functions, and more importantly, big procedures, which we'll discuss very soon, available in a special group data analysis. And at the same time, database management systems' purpose is to organize special kind of data that are saved, prepared, stored as logically connected pieces of data. These pieces of data usually are referred to as fields. And what we can immediately recognize, looking at the slide, is that each field, as a matter of fact, is a column, as we know from Microsoft Excel. These fields in Microsoft Access and databases are logically connected, like, let's say, customer record, or something that you'll understand immediately, your student records at Walla University student database. These special logically connected pieces of information usually are referred to as records. Nowadays, there is a big boom, knowing exactly as big data boom or just big data worldwide. Of course, as I told you, we'll discuss in other classes, in like CS 301, CS 240, the new CS class, and other classes, the topic about big data and future of data analysis and big data analysis. What is necessary to mention is that the amount, with this massive amount of information, and especially data organized as records, it's very difficult to manage them with the help of simple software, even if it is like Microsoft Excel tables or data lists. When we can enter thousands of records, it's still nothing comparing with the billion of records available in some areas or some large-scale companies. For this purpose, we need a special system, special information system known as database management system. What's the difference between a database and database management system? It's a difference because database management system consists of 3 major modules, and database is just one module within this database management system. The purpose is that database management systems organized and provide to customers options not only to use the data that are stored in the database, but also to print, display, store in the future in other database or on servers, meaning to provide, as this slide shows, a link to tools and devices existing in our computer system, and also, what is also, I would say, even more important, tools to analyze, organize, and present this data stored this big data stored in the company database. There are different kinds of database management systems. One of very, very frequently used, and in the past was the most common type of database management system, is the so-called relational database management system. For us with good knowledge in Microsoft Excel and tables, any kind of tables, this is easy to understand because the main idea in relational database management systems is to create small but useful, easy to navigate, operate, manage, and so forth tables, and then use these tables and with the help of a special common field, relate or connect them. That is, if we have tables, of course, there will be one we can call the source table and one or more target tables. The source table needs a unique column or field, which is referred to as a primary key. This primary key must exist, not as a primary key, but because we need common field to relate to tables, we need it with the same data in the other or others target tables, and usually it's referred to as a foreign key there. So when we have these two identical fields, then it's very easy, as we did in Excel, with the help of links we created there, it's very easy to use these 2, 3, 4, 15, and even more tables as one big, almost unlimited, I would say virtually unlimited data table. And this is good for us because we know already how to work with data tables. And as a matter of fact, Microsoft Access data tables, as we'll see in just in a few minutes, are very, very similar. I would say more than 90% similar to Microsoft Excel tables. But when we open, as we will in a couple of minutes, Microsoft Access will immediately identify that there is a difference. And the difference is immediately from the first window, Microsoft Access window, that we'll see on the screen. Well, in general, yes, there is a ribbon with a lot of menus, but most of these menus are different. Second, more importantly, the main part of this window is divided in two areas. The smaller one, which is referred to as navigation pane, is special area where we can see the list of objects. Objects we introduced in chapter 3 when talking about charts in Microsoft Excel, and here in a similar way, object is considered to be a module from a database management system, and these modules could be tables, data forms, or special tools to enter data more reliably and faster than from data tables, especially when data tables are very, very big. I mean, with huge number of records. Could be reports preparing our data results, analysis, and so forth for printing. And very, very important module or object are the Microsoft Access or database queries. Special, very similar to the advanced filters we talked about last Thursday. That is, these tables usually represent a combination of two or more related data tables which contain some, not all, some of their fields, their columns, and some, not all, some of the records that match given criteria. Exactly as we did in advanced filtering with Microsoft Access. The second part of the window is the data view or data sheet view window. Here we can see when open, just a second, and we move and we start opening a blank database. We can see here a table similar to Microsoft Excel, and of course, this table has some differences. So after introducing database management systems, and of course, when necessary, we'll introduce or explain some other differences or important details. Now, next step is to open Microsoft Access and start working with Microsoft Access. How to open Microsoft Access? One way is to use a database file already created. If this is the first data file we go to create, we must use then Start menu, and from Start menu, scroll down and look for Microsoft Office. And here in Microsoft Office, we scroll and look and scroll and look until we find Microsoft Access. Okay, here it is. In my case, because I recently used it, it is not in the group Microsoft Office, but just separately presented. So try, if you cannot find it, in Start menu, when you go through Start menu, and it's not under letter A, scroll down and you will find it in under letter M group. Look here for Microsoft Office, and it will be there. One of them. If you cannot find it the fastest way, as I told you, just use the opportunity that there is already a few files that you can use. Click open one of them and Microsoft Access, Microsoft Access will be open. And of course, we'll continue. If you use already created file, we'll simply ignore it and continue in the beginning with blank database. If you found Microsoft Access and run the software, the very first step will look like this. Similar to open Microsoft Word or Excel, because always the very first option is a blank file, blank document, blank spreadsheet, or here blank database. So we select the blank database and name. Okay, first thing, click and browse, open browse menu, so you can save it in a place you can see. All right, I will go to my folder. All right, here on my computer. Then I will select CS140 online. If you don't have a folder with the name Microsoft Access, as I do, you can always create whenever you want. Just click new folder, enter Microsoft Access, open it, and here it's a good idea to enter all your files, no matter what kind of files, related to Microsoft Access. And first exercise, let's give this file name, your name, and then the name test. Or it's not scientific, let's call it first database. Okay, database, and click OK, and then create. And here it is. as you can see, this is the window from the PowerPoint we just look at. And it looks, well, similar, as I told you, and at the same time strange comparing to Microsoft Excel. Similar because, yes, we have file menu, not exactly the same, but similar. We have home menu. At least clipboard look to be similar. And maybe we have here in the home menu, not in data menu, some sorting and filtering options. But we can see here many more unknown options like database to create and so forth and so forth. All right, so step number 1. Once we open, I'll return to the PowerPoint to show you what I mean. Okay, how to create a database. The first approach is creating a table in the datasheet view, meaning as we just open a blank file, blank database, as you can see here, the program is ready, so we can enter data. What kind of data? Here comes the first very big difference between Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Access in regards data and values. In Microsoft Excel, you remember, we can enter text, numbers, and formulas, and the program recognizes immediately what did we enter. In Microsoft Access, we can enter only numbers and text. Formulas we can enter, but not directly. Why? Because usually in the records there are no formulas. But it doesn't mean that we cannot have formulas in Microsoft Access. We add formulas in special kind of columns or fields, as we call them here. Just let me use the opportunity. When we open a blank database data table, it doesn't show column names A, B, C, D as we know them from Microsoft Excel, or rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As a matter of fact, the program always starts with a special field called ID, because this is the so-called primary key that we need in each data table. The purpose of this primary key is to give unique identifier for each record. In Microsoft Excel, this is exactly the row number. If you're wondering, and the skeptic will ask immediately, why then we don't use the same approach here in database tables? The answer is because sometimes we may need different identifier, different than simple number. Like, for example, in company records or student records, this is your ID number. And the ID may contain not only numbers, but text as well. Or may start not from 1, may have special rules when creating the ID. Second field, which has no name, column, we can create either by entering a number below in the very first row or record, or first we can identify, can you see, in Microsoft Access, we can specify the field in advance. Meaning, what kind of, as we call in Excel, format, data format we want. Could be text, number, date and time. Can you see special format? Yes, no. And finally, as I told you, here is the calculated field, a special column, special field, which allows entering formulas. But this we'll discuss a little bit later on. Right now, we'll start and create the very first field, just entering a name, John, and with the navigation keys, I continue to the second column or field. As you can see, the program immediately gave this record unique identifier 1. Suppose we don't want to start from 1, then we can enter our unique field identifier and then make it to be the primary key. What about, okay, what about field names? Well, by default, the program gives them, as was in Excel, ABCD, field 1, field 2, field 3, and in Excel we cannot change, but here we just click twice and we can change the name. Let's say this is first name. Okay. The second one is family or family name. The third one, okay, can you see here? I entered by mistake, but I can change this. Let's say I want to start from a different number. Here, this we can change only, this I'll show you in a minute, if we change this field. And we can enter whatever we want. All right, next third one, let's say, is city. Oops, not here. City, I'll call it, of course, College Place. And we'll give it name, city. And we'll finish, meaning finish with the first record. Then, can you see here, I can enter. Program is not allowing. Why? We'll continue in a second. Let me show you first, because probably some of you are impatient and want to see how we can manage this if all the time we cannot proceed. Can you see there is one group in home menu on the ribbon, even before the clipboard. And this is views. But this view is different than Microsoft Excel view. Here, when we open it, you can see most of the time we have either display view. In the case of data sheets or data tables, it will be data sheet view. And the second is always design. We can have layout view also, depending what kind of object we work on. So let's move. Right now we are in the data sheet or data table view. Let's move to design view. Of course, program will ask first to save it. And we'll call it my first table. Okay. And save. Wow. What do we have here? Well, we have here a new design view, kind of a design grid, where we can see many things that are not presented. I'll switch. It's very fast, just clicking on view, standard view, design view, standard view, design view. And here, just to explain, we couldn't change anything in ID field because the type selected was auto number. If I want to change it, well, I can change it, let's say, to just number. Now, okay, I will save. And now I can enter. Wow, can you see? I can enter whatever I want. And second, also would be whatever I want. Oops. And in this way, we can enter more and more and more data. And the third one, and so forth and so forth. The format that we know in Microsoft Excel, here we can apply in design view. Why? Can you see? By default, the program gave the first name, family name, city, short text format. The ID field was also called or automatically given auto number, meaning to add automatically data. But beside this, if let's select city, you can see in the field properties grid that there are many other important properties. Let me clarify immediately, why do I need this? Because as I mentioned in the beginning, Microsoft Access, like other database management systems, they were developed to manage big data, massive amount of records. And you can say that, well, whether I will use field size of 255 or maybe just 25 symbols is not a big deal, all right? But when you have billion of records, that means it will increase the file, the physical file size tremendously. And because of this, in database management systems, it's very important to optimize the field size for every single field. Of course, in small databases, this is not that much important, but according to the good rules of computing, it's very important to learn this. And before we continue, let's clarify again the purpose of the unique identifier, the primary key. When we select the ID field, which by the way we can change, we can give it name, customer number or customer code. All right, that's it. Can you see? It's not. Yes, we know this. I will explain what's happened in a second. Just wanted to return and show you in data sheet view what's happened. ID now is customer number. And in the same way as we can format, meaning increase or decrease the column width in Microsoft Excel, we can perform this, we can do this in the same way with Microsoft Access data tables. Now, let's return back to the database design view and explain, before I continue with the primary key, let me explain what's happened. First thing, when we enter data, look, I will enter new record. And look, when I try to close the program, what the program is asking, do you want to save changes to the layout of table, my first table? I will say yes. Why? I will open it then. Very good exercise to see how we open a table. And here I will enter, let's say, name. Samuel. And family, Clement. I'm curious how many of you immediately recognize who's this. I'm not sure about the spelling of the family, but this is the famous Mark Twain that we know, and his name is Samuel Clemens. Okay, but let's continue. The program didn't ask me to save the new data, and this is because these data are already saved. From the city, wow, I forgot, it was somewhere in Tennessee, not Chattanooga, of course, but let's say Walla, Mark Twain in Walla. Okay. And again, look, I close the data file. Program did not ask me to save it. Why? Because program immediately update in real time the database values as soon as we leave a field. Why? To avoid any problems with power and everything. Many of you know and face these problems, issues now, especially using internet too much. So one reason, because again, database management systems were developed to manage huge big data massives, big data ranges, big data billion of records, files. That's why this is immediately saved. But if we change the data layout or structure, the program immediately will ask you, what do I mean? Well, suppose that I enter new field, and this field, salary, is currency. And I close. Oh, I change the design. Can you see the program is asking to save the design? All right, so everything related to the structure of the data file would be saved, must be saved. Otherwise, we will lose it. What about the values? Values there, as I mentioned, immediately updated, saved in real time. That is, when you close a data table and the program, there is a sound and program is asking something, it means you made changes in the structure, the size, the layout, or the design. And because of this, the program is asking whether you want to save the changes or not. Data value, when you enter new values, they will be updated automatically. Okay, let's finish today's first presentation with the primary key. Primary key, the unique identifier, could be any field which enter a unique identifier, unique code for any record, like your students' ID numbers or corporate base database workers' ID or customers' ID, as we'll discuss them very soon, starting tomorrow on, from our case. Usually, the best way, this is to be the very first field name. If for some reasons it's not the first, it's very easy to move it. It is very easy to move it. Look, above, below. We want family. Oops, on the top. All right, very, very easy. And then we select the field we want to be the primary key. And on design menu, on the ribbon, can you see the big key tab? Once makes this field primary key. Second, click, remove the primary key. Once primary key, second time removed. Remember, each data table, each file in Microsoft Access that contains data must have this unique primary key. And tomorrow we'll see how we can use these primary keys to connect data tables or to create relationships between different data tables. For today, we'll close now. Mind what will happen. The program will ask to save the design change. You can say, but there is no change. It's the same field is the primary key, but few times we add, remove primary key. This is a change. And the program is asking to whether to save or not the changes. We create yes. Now don't hurry to close the database program. I want to show you a slide. And of course, we'll return to this, but a slide that is not exactly, here it is. What's happened when a database management system save file physically on the disk? It's not well organized because to be as fast as possible, the program use any next free space on the disk. And when you erase something, the program will not use it again. Will not use it until we optimize or compact our database table, which means that the program will organize and save the database file in smaller, much more compact physical view. How to do this? This is the last step in today's class, is from File menu. Again, very, I would say that Microsoft designers have a good sense of humor. You remember in the past, to leave the computer, to stop the computer, you should go to Start menu. Of course, now it's not anymore, but here, to change, to manage, to optimize a file, you don't go to management as it was in the past. Now the new option is info, and here is compact and repair database. That means program will try to optimize some links, some very small details, and also the size of the file. What happened here? There is some content which, if you are unsure, you don't enable. We just create it. There is nothing that we created which could be active content. That's why I will not enable it. If you know more, you can continue and verify. It says that it may contain macros. What are these macros? We'll discuss in chapter 10. Right now, I will not allow it. I will not use it because I did not create such thing. Of course, we can go to Trust Center settings, not with your class, it was different class. We use it to upload new module in the program in Excel. Right now, we have no idea. We created nothing. That's why we will not enable it. So we will close, which will close only the file. Or after that, we can use, it's so, anyways, Microsoft designers have a good sense of humor. Well, just exit the program, as we know, from the close X symbol on the screen. That's all for today, and I will stop recording right now.